Hello there, everybody. Pastor Charlie Rizzo. Hope you're doing okay. Well, we've been covering some issues that can get kind of controversial. They're not as controversial as they used to be, and I'm not so sure that's a good thing. It seems today that many evangelical Christians are not really, they don't really care about doctrine to the point where they can even be fit to debate it. And I'm not so sure in the current condition of our world, our country, that it's the time for Christians to be debating over things like predestination and free will or freed will and all that stuff. These are important teachings, but there are good Christians on both sides of that fence and in between. And the best you're going to come up with, if I could save you some time, but you're welcome to pursue this, is consensus. Obviously, Calvinistic writers aren't idiots, neither are Wesleyan or Arminian theologians idiots. Uh, People in those camps love the Lord and are saved. But why do Christians come to a number of contradictory beliefs, and that sometimes they generate more heat than light? Well, a couple of things. I think there is a bent we have towards a certain doctrine. This is one of the ways, at least in my own life, that I've tried to keep into perspective is, do I believe something because I really want to believe it, or is it true? And then second to that would be, okay, if I believe this or not, can I still be saved? So within these schools of thought, there is still salvation. But knock yourself out if you want to read all that stuff. Go right ahead if you want to. Remember, it's the law of consensus. You will find that in the end, there are verses that literally bring the whole house of cards down on any total doctrinal or theological position. That's a key point, I think. So I just wanted to say that straight out. There are believers that believe both are true, that as far as our limited minds go now, there is a human response, but behind it is God. And when you stop and think about it, we talk about freedom. Is man really free? We talk about free will, freed will. If you recall, in the last study I shared with you, just add the letter D to the word free will, freed will, and that's a better representation of Wesleyan theology as far as the will goes. And because these are the kind of, it may seem like nitpicking or pedantic rattlings, and what are you going to do? In the end, you will find consensus, but try to be careful on certain things. Do I want to believe it? So that's why I believe it. And then go with your best shot with the scriptures, and God bless you, and we're brothers and sisters in Jesus. I trust that certain camps will hold that position. I'm not going to belabor the point about Harold Camping or family radio. Personally, I'm appalled, and I do know that the Reformed Church that Harold Camping was a member of disfellowshipped him. I mean, that's a pretty serious thing to do. Not that many people are disfellowshipped today, and it was a just disfellowshipping. And for the last 3 to 5 years, all that people had to put up with the end of the world and the rest of it, I was amazed. I was shocked that on the family radio, they are still broadcasting. Now it's excerpts of open forums. So now you can hear the other side of the garbage sanitized. It's a sad day. And it's, what are we, 6 months out now from all the nonsense? And it's business as usual. That's the problem in the evangelical church today. To think that WFME, family radio, would be a cult. When I got saved in 1970, those early days, I used to listen all the time. I'd say you were crazy, but that's where we're at. And a lot of evangelical Christianity today, doctrine. So these doctrines of election and predestination, they are important, but you will chase your tail trying to be dogmatic. You can receive these things at a balance. Now, here's one example. If God hardened Pharaoh's heart, how can Pharaoh be held responsible? The Bible quotes God as saying, I will harden his, Pharaoh's heart, so that he will not let the people go. But if God hardened his heart, how could Pharaoh be morally responsible for his actions? God did not harden Pharaoh's heart, contrary to Pharaoh's own free choice. As a matter of fact, I think it's the first 9 times it says Pharaoh hardened his heart. And then it says 9 times God hardened Pharaoh's heart. And so that's a key point here. The scriptures make it very clear that initially Pharaoh hardened his own heart, and then God gave him over to that hardness. Now, here's an interesting view. This is from a book, When Critics Ask, Norman Geisler, who's just a prince in Israel as far as scholars go, and balanced, in my opinion. And here from his book, he has a little chart on this. Let's see if you could see that. Let me see if I can just hold that up there for you. See that there? Obviously, you can put this tape on pause to get those notes, and I'll read them to you. God does not harden hearts initially, directly, against free choice as to their cause. God does harden hearts subsequently, indirectly, through free choice as to their effect. And that was the key. And I think that will be a balance for you who are grappling with this issue of predestination or election. It really was a pathetic thing to see a Christian radio station literally become a cult, a non-Christian cult. And to hear how this stuff is being regurgitated should make our Reformed brethren even more grieved. You see, that wasn't my world, so to speak, when I got saved. Far too conservative and far too, in my opinion, judgmental culturally when it came to things like music and whatnot. But so the Reformed movement is not only has not only been blighted by that. Now you've got the preterist heresy that states that there is no more fulfilled prophecy. Jesus came back in 70 AD at the destruction of Jerusalem by the Romans. There's no more physical resurrection. There's no need for the Lord's Supper, etc., etc. One wonders, wait a minute, how can somebody believe the Bible and actually teach that? It's being heralded as the new paradigm, the new Christianity. And its leaders, I don't even want to mention their names. I just don't want to mention their names. But the leaders basically, arrogance, incredible arrogance, in my opinion. Well, they're reshaping, reinterpreting, if you will, Scripture is the new Reformation. They're just as important as Martin Luther was, as Calvin, Wesley, on and on and on. Everybody else was wrong until these guys came on the scene. Now that's full preterism, it's called. We'll get into a few more studies. See, I notice it's already 8.5 minutes, and we just do about 15-minute clips that are shot here, which I think is good because you'll remember easier than a 30-minute or 45 or 50-minute lecture or something like that. But that came out of the Reform movement. You got guys like Hank Hanegraaff, R.C. Sproul, who are flirting with the preterists. They are not full preterists, but they're flirting with the preterists. There's such a thing as partial preterism and amillennialism or amillennialism. The Latin a or a means no millennium. There's no literal millennium. That is to say, Jesus, when he returns, it will be the end of the world. There will be no literal kingdom of Jesus ruling from Jerusalem on the earth. And modern day Israel, Jerusalem, what we see going on since 1948 is really a coincidence. It's really not Bible prophecy. Now that's most of the evangelical world, not just the Reformed world, but the evangelical world. Moody Bible Institute, I've been told this, Dallas Theological Seminary, Moody Bible Institute, they were the harbinger of premillennial theology, have really backed off on being dogmatic about their prophetical views. I think it's a sad day for the Church of Jesus Christ when we have people that have come out of Reformed theology being responsible for such heresy. Now, as I said, Harold Camping, I apologize to the other Reformed proponents or opponents. I would deem them so, at least theologically, not as brothers. I don't link them in the same camp. It would be a cheap shot. It really would. But nevertheless, that came out of the Reformed movement, WFME, now a cult. And the Reformed Church he was a part of spoke very clearly on it. It's out on the internet. You just have to Google Harold Camping Disfellowship Reformed, and you can go and see all the documentation. And on these other guys, especially, I know R.C. Sproul is very, very popular out there, and he is a brilliant man. I think he's a godly man, but I disagree with some of his theology, as others would. Geisler certainly is not a five-point Calvinist. And John MacArthur, you Calvinists love him. He's a good brother too, but he's premillennial. Hallelujah for John MacArthur, but he's a dying breed. All right, so sharing all this is to try to help you to stay focused on your faith. At Maranatha, we try to stay balanced. Now, it's a Nazarene church. My doctrinal affiliation is because I think Wesleyan is about as true to the scriptures as the others are. Not that the others aren't true. They are. It's just a balance. We have people that are at Maranatha who are a vital part of the local church who are not Nazarenes, and they have various beliefs to the tulip, the 5-point Calvinists on, and they've never been divisive. We make it work. We really do, because it's not an essential of the faith. Look, gang, it is not essential to be saved to believe in Calvin's definition of predestination and election, or Burkhalter, or whomever we're talking about. But study the theologies, be persuaded in your own heart. I can only tell you that since 1973, I was starting in 1970, but as a pastor, 1973, Maranatha has been able to avoid splits and divisiveness while embracing a diversity of thought and preserving unity of heart. It works. It really does. I think that in of itself is a miracle. Now, if you have any questions about stuff like this, write me, chasbro777 at hotmail.com. That's chasbro777 at hotmail.com. What I'll do is I'll be glad to send you the sites, the web address of sites that address all of these theological issues. You can read all the various points. But I'll tell you, it'll take you a long, long time if you're honest. Do people believe what they believe today in the church because they really believe it? Or, hey, this is a great church. It's got a great kids program, a great teens program. It has a basketball court. It has a coffee pot. I don't know. When you're called somewhere, you know it in your heart. So you can stay there. Return, come home to Maranatha. Many of you have even asked recently, would I be welcome? Of course you'd be welcome. God is not finished with us yet, and we'd love to see you. So Maranatha Church of the Nazarene, Paramus, 285 East Midland Ave. Check us out online at our website, maranathanh.org. I mean, I knew from day one that was not going to be a good address. Or just Google Pastor Charlie Rizzo or Let It Grow. You'll get to our website. Visit us. Write me soon if you have any questions about this. We'll try to help you. God bless you. Have a great Lord's Day tomorrow.